taking first cut. Golly!
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gaiman, and this is your recap episode for the American Express. And joining me to break it all down, we are five wide, and I've been waiting to say this for a long time. Greg Ducharme is here. He's got a new member of the Ducharme family. Greg, first of all, congratulations to you and the missus. We're glad to have you back.
Thank you very much. We have a full foursome now, so it's very exciting. Thank you guys for giving me a little bit of time off. Mark, thank you for giving me a little bit of a break for daddy duty. You know what I'm talking about. We don't have to go any further, but I'm really happy to be back. I'm so excited for this show.
Did
Mark
you name him Siwoo?
Oh,
well, the timing was
Siwoo
a little bit off. We were close.
That's true.
that's what you should do if you have a baby.
Win, so.
Tony Ducharme. If you have a baby, you should have to wait to whoever wins the next PGA event. That you have to name your child after whoever wins. So that would be one heck of a bet.
Yes,
I love it. Mark Immelman is here. Mark, good to see you.
Yeah, nice to be with you guys. Greg, going from 3 to 4, that's a game changer. Just let me tell you, I used to be so gray when there were just 3 of us around, but 4 changes stuff. That's good to be back. I'm in the midst of packing for Torrey Pines. Head out tomorrow morning, so game on. I'm looking forward to it.
That's right. We're gonna have you back on the road shortly. Kyle Porter is here. KP, what up, big guy?
Yeah, 3 to 4, then 4 to 5, then 5 to 6. I mean, you just keep going. I'm trying to think of who would be the worst next winner if you decided to name your kid. Probably Jazzy J would be tough. I don't know. I don't know if it gets tougher than that.
I think Francesco Gaiman, I think, would be a really good one. That would make total sense. And the coach is here. Coach, are you going to give us a warning about when you go from 6 to 7? Are you going to drop the bomb on all of us here?
Wow, that's never going to happen. I can promise you that. But I'm in a really good mood for this show. I love being a part of you guys. But also, I came really close. I had Patrick Cantlay to win this week, so you can imagine Siwoo's putt on 17 I wasn't completely happy with, but I picked a bunch of winners today in round 4, so I felt really good all week. So I'm good with what I did here on the show. Competing with you guys, I didn't do much, but I'm still happy with the week that I've had.
Well, we're going to talk about the winner, and it's Siwoo Kim, who gets his first victory since the 2017 Players Championship, Greg, and it was an absolutely sublime 8 under 64 on Sunday that does the trick. It was not without Patrick Cantlay trying to chase him down, trying to take this one away from him, but it's Siwoo who prevails and adds another PGA Tour title to his resume.
Yeah, watching this thing, you almost forget that he shoots 4 under on the first 9, right? He makes birdie at 4 and 5, and then 7, 8, and you almost forget about that because Patrick Cantlay is doing what he's doing. And I'm just wondering, how far ahead does Cantlay have to get to actually win? Because Siwoo has all these holes left to go, and you just felt like there wasn't too many mistakes to be made out there once he got past number 13, which was a really, really smart shot to the right side of the green. There just didn't feel like there were too many opportunities to make a big number. 16, it got a little close where the ball was maybe going to go down into the really deep bunker, maybe the deepest bunker on tour. I think that the guys play, but he avoided that. And all of a sudden, easy birdie at 16 and he makes the putt at 17, which was just clutch. So it was great to see. But this is what these guys do on the PGA Tour. 64 on Sunday. If you don't shoot 5, 6, 7, 8 under on Sunday of a PGA Tour event, you're not going to win.
Siwoo Kim, I think they said on the telecast, nearly pulled a muscle trying to get in on that Max Homa read on 17. They were on a very similar line. He takes advantage of it. Mark, he rolls the birdie putt in, and then all he has to do on 18 is make par. He's able to take care of that. But he was talking in his post-round interview, knowing exactly what Patrick Cantlay was up to because he was putting up a course record on Sunday, and he knew that he had to keep his foot on the gas, which I feel like for Siwoo, that's the style of golf he wants to play, right? This guy's got one gear and it's full speed ahead.
Yeah, well, you speak of that one gear, and if I think back to the victories before, he won at the Wyndham Championship, where I believe on the Friday he shot like 60, and then sort of gamed his way out and hung on over the weekend there at Sedgefield. But then the Players' Championship, you know, he was in contention, and then that final round did not hit the ball very well at all and just putted the eyes out of the thing. And so he was more the guy that was sort of scrappy from tee through green and just really salvaged scores, and at the Players' Championship sort of survived. But man, he thrived at this place. And at this golf course, typically, if you are in one of the final groups or you behind the score that's posted, you have the advantage because 16, you know, back in the day was a tough par 5. Now pretty well it's reachable for everybody in the field. So there's a give birdie there. 14 is a wedge in hand if you can take advantage. 17, in as much as what it's daunting mentally and emotionally, at one stage guys were hitting like wedges and 9-irons in there. So, and then 18, it speaks to the work that Siwoo Kim has done on the game, because a guy that was, I wouldn't say unreliable off the tee and through the green, but he was a little scrappy. And that tee shot he hit down 18, which is daunting. You know, when you've got a penalty area down the left-hand side and fairway bunkers on the right, he just split the fairway. And that spoke to a guy who's got a lot of confidence in the technique, a lot of confidence in what he's doing, and then hit the perfect second shot. It was in between clubs, which was interesting. And typically these guys would go to the shorter club and swing harder. Well, he did the opposite. And then again, that speaks to someone who's really got everything working out and the swings in time and fits the thing out there to the right of the flag, just done perfectly. And the finish was majestic. I mean, it was a heck of a performance. And to me, sort of galvanized his place now as one of the leading young golfers in the world's game.
We're going to talk about how young he is. I'm going to come to Kyle on that in just 1 second, but I want to dive into what this performance was. Mark, you mentioned it was an all-around performance, and Coach, the stats bear this out. Siwoo Kim leads the field in strokes gained tee to green this week. He's second in approach. He gained strokes in all 4 major categories. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, you know, sometimes on the PGA Tour, you can kind of get hot in a certain area and steal one. Not here, not this week. Siwoo Kim had it all going.
You know what's crazy is we talked about it on Tuesday on the preview show on what kind of a player would be successful this particular week. And I can't remember. I think it was Mark that said that this is, and I could be wrong, that these are the type of greens that guys can really put the lights out on because of how they're made and that there's not a lot of varying dimensions through them. And you really saw that today more so than any other day this week, because Patrick Cantlay was just dropping bombs from everywhere, and Siwoo as well. And when you look at the numbers, and when I handicapped my matchups for today, my bets were easy for today because you saw guys that had these really good numbers at the stadium course, and I thought it was easy. And when you look what Siwoo Kim did, he was the one guy, because we talked about it last night too on the show, guys, that Max Homa, he was tied for the lead. He was never in it today because he just wasn't hitting the ball crisp on this golf course. You've got to hit it well off the tee, approach, but you got to be able to put the lights out. And Siwoo did that better than anybody else this week. And we called it Tuesday, and that's exactly what happened.
All right, KP, I'm trying to put this win for Siwoo Kim into perspective, and there's just a short list of golfers who have 3 or more PGA Tour wins at 25 or younger. And here's the international list over the last 40 years. Rory McIlroy, he's pretty good at golf. Sergio Garcia, Hideki Matsuyama, John Rahm, Adam Scott, and now Siwoo Kim. The guy's 25 years old, or the way that you put it on Twitter, KP, he's 20 months older than Colin Morikawa.
It's pretty weird because I think which by the way, I forgot that his last name was Kim. I thought it was shaking that ass. I thought that was just his last name. with the
I think he's going to change it. I think he's going to change it now.
He should. That's what I was trying. Producer Jacob, do we have that? You need to just pop that in randomly over the next 30 minutes. Siwoo is both older and younger than I think we think about. And what I mean by that is he is. We talk about Morikawa like he's super young, and he is. He's 23, but you know, Siwoo was 20 months old when Morikawa was born. That they're kind of the same. I mean, when they get to be 35 and 37, it's going to be just all the same, you know. But he's also played in a ton of events because he's been out there since he was like 19 or 20. He's played in. How about this? He's played in, I think, 6 fewer events than Tony Finau, which is crazy. And he's played in, I think, 23 fewer events than Rory McIlroy, which is also crazy.
And 100 fewer than Sung J M. No,
he plays a ton. 3 years with 30 plus events. 3 full seasons with 30+ events. It's a lot.
Yeah, he plays a ton. And so 3 wins is great by the time you're 25, but 3 out of the first 165 it's good, but it's not what it seems like when you turn 25. The other thing I want to say about Siwoo real quick, he played in this event last year, WD'd with a back injury. He shot 87 in the first round last year. He had 2 6s, 2 8s, and a 9 on the card. And then he goes this week, nothing worse than 68, and only makes 2 bogeys all week. So it's just crazy how much difference 12 months can make.
Golf is certainly a weird game, and Patrick Cantlay finishes runner-up in this event. And Greg, it was certainly not without a lack of efforts, because this guy barnstorms the field on the weekend. He makes the cut on the number and goes out and shoots 18 under on the weekend, including a 61 on Sunday, the new course record. It looked like he was trying to steal this thing, right? He made a couple of putts coming down the stretch. I'm like, oh my God, this is kismet. This is fate a little bit. I think Patrick Cantlay's got this.
It's such a hard thing to do. I mean, nobody has won on the PGA Tour when making the cut on the number since Brandt Snedeker in 2016. 2016 sounds recent, but that's kind of a long time. I mean, that's 5 years ago now. That's 5 years ago next week. It was the Farmers Insurance Open when he did it.
And that was a weird time. That was a weird ending too. It was like a Monday finish. It was crazy windy. It doesn't like the way that Cantlay did it almost never happens.
Yeah, Snedeker was like, he finished early and then it got to like 40-mile-an-hour winds and nobody else shot over par in the final round or something like that.
Yeah, he didn't even play on the final day. He was sitting there. He finished on Sunday.
Right.
So it doesn't happen very often is the point. And they kept saying this on the broadcast. You have to go out and try and birdie every hole, which sounds odd, but he had himself a birdie look on every single hole, it seemed. And I credit him with the aggressive play from the tee. Of course, when a guy shoots 61, he's not playing conservative, but he was aggressive off the tee. He was hitting drivers up close to the green. He had a number on the second 9, a number of little wedge shots from inside of, say, 80 yards. And next thing you know, you hit a quality shot. It doesn't have to be spectacular, but just a quality shot. And now you got inside of 10 feet for a birdie. And that comes from the aggressive style off the tee. So I think he took advantage of the conditions. He took advantage of a run he was on with the putter, with the irons. If you go down the list, he was excellent in every single category today, which goes without saying. But second approaching the green, gains 3 strokes approaching the green. He gains over 5 tee to green for the for just the day today, and he was 6th around the green and 2nd putting. So he, just like Siwoo Kim, was great in every area, and it yields a great score. Patrick Cantlay's aggressive style was what got him into contention today.
He goes out in 30, comes in 31 for a course record 61 mark. It was magical stuff. And there were 2 putts in the middle there that you don't expect him to make, but like it could have been even lower. We could have seen the magic number, I think, on Sunday if everything goes right for Patrick Cantlay. But remember, he's a top 10 player in the world. Are we kind of getting to the point where he's now underrated? I mean, I know there can only be so many top 10 players in the world. We've got a tour that's incredibly deep, but coming off of a Zozo Championship victory, he kind of scorches the field in the weekend here, and it feels like 2021 is getting off to a rockin' kick and start for Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah, and Rick, I'm the wrong guy to ask when you start to ask about sort of underrating players and such, because I'm going to go on the bandwagon and not the bandwagon. I'm going to go into my limb or wherever I'm going to go now and sort of say that it's so hard to win, especially if there's 4 major championships. But the way Patrick Cantlay is beginning to go, it seems like it's only a matter of time, or perhaps it's inevitable. And what I want to point to is, as I look through some of the results, he played okay at the Tournament of Champions in Maui. That was a couple of weeks ago. Then his previous start before then was the Masters, and he had a top 20 there. And then about 2 weeks before, they had the Zozo. So you got a guy, he was almost playing Tiger Woodsian sort of schedules over the last little bit here, where there's big gaps in between starts. Yet this game travels, and he's got a game for all seasons. And he comes out here and looks a little rough early, but you could see, well, that's no competition. But the guy just finds his groove so fast. And to build on Greg's point about just having all of the tools, I feel like that is part of the reason why he does. And to win major championships and to start to answer those questions about, okay, you're a top 10 guy, when you're going to do the big stuff, I think the questions are valid. But the one thing about Cantlay is, in my limited experience with him, I've talked to him after a couple of victories. He just seems to have life pretty well in order. He's had all those events that have happened to him, the sort of the ghastly sort of things you don't wish upon your worst enemy. And they've made a guy who is just awfully strong mentally and tremendously resilient emotionally. And golf is going to test you that way. So then you add to the mix the physical gifts that he has, just the mental acumen and the emotional strength that he has and the resilience he has. You'd figure he's a contender now for major championships. Now, is he likely to win? Heck, I don't know, because they're so hard to win and there's only 4 of them a year. But it's pointing toward the fact that Cantlay is one of those guys. And if he was a bit more vocal pre-tournament, maybe we'd talk about him a bit more, but he doesn't. So he's going to fly under the radar, and the next thing you're going to turn around and Cantlay is contending for tournaments.
Yeah, and his resting heart rate, I swear, has got to be one of the lowest on tour. The guy's just ice in the veins. KP, he makes 20 birdies over his final 2 rounds. Do you think that is more or less than his average number of little toe tap things that he does before every single shot?
Way less.
Way less. He's over 20 toe taps.
Yeah, you could get into like how many seconds. I think it's less than the seconds taken between, once he addresses the ball. Cantlay's interesting because we talk about tournaments played. This was his 105th event of his PGA Tour career, which is not. It's the same number as somebody like I think John Rahm's played in about 100, or I don't know, maybe fewer than that, maybe 80 or 90, and that's 60 fewer than Siwoo. So his win rate is pretty crazy. And I don't know. I'm big on this, and people probably get tired of hearing about it, but just this idea of like how much difference in a career, over the course of a career, one stroke can make. Think about this week. Like Cantlay makes the cut on the number on Friday, and then he almost wins the event. And Siwoo hits this shot. Somebody was talking about it earlier, into 16, 6 feet to the left. Cantlay probably wins the golf tournament. And it's insane to think about like how tiny these margins are that like change entire careers. Like I get so worked up over it because I don't think we can talk about it enough. I think it's wild. And I mean, I don't know. I don't love Cantlay just because I don't love watching him, but in terms of just pure golf, I think you have to say that he's fairly underrated.
Yeah, I think that's a smart evaluation of Patrick Cantlay. And Coach, I kind of glossed over this at the top, and I'm glad Kyle brought it back up. The fact that he makes the cut on the number, there are guys, especially top 10 players in the world or top 15 players in the world, whatever you want to call it, that would have packed it in, said, okay, I'm going to be in San Diego next week or whatever. I've got my schedule. I don't know what I need to do over the weekend to just cash this check, but he goes out, he puts the pedal to the metal and almost steals this thing away from Siwoo.
Well, that's I think the thing about his greatness is that we've seen there aren't a lot of guys that are comfortable getting into that 8, 9, 10 under scenario in any round, let alone the last round of a tournament to win it. And I think because of his lack of excitement, that helps him when he gets into this zone that he has. But I'm with Kyle. I actually told the tour this. Because I come from an entertainment background. Everybody knows that I spent 10 years in pro wrestling. I said, hire me to get my hands on a lot of these players that are on the PGA Tour that secretly are upset because they don't have as many endorsements off the course or they don't have as many things coming their way. And it may not bother Patrick Cantlay, but he is the most boring golfer on planet Earth to watch play golf. And I want to be entertained. I want to at least see a little fist pump or a yell or something. But you never get that. And so that's why he's rarely in PGA Tour live groups. And he's rarely a guy that anybody ever talks about as one of the great players and one of the favorites in a golf tournament. It's not because he's not good enough. It's because he's just not fun to watch. We don't think about him. And that, to me, is a big box missed for Patrick Cantlay. And he'll never – I don't think it's his personality. And I don't think he has the ability to change it to make us make him – can't miss golf.
You know, that's a very good point, and I hear what you and Kyle are saying, but you go back to a guy that had a debilitating back injury. I mean, it nearly ended his career, and then he has his best friend die basically in his arms. He keeps stuff tremendously close to the vest, and I think a lot of Patrick Cantlay, because I had met the young Patrick Cantlay who came out on tour as I can't remember if it was an amateur, but the Travelers shot 60 the one day, and I was like, holy cow, this guy's legit. And there was an electricity about him. But since all of these events have transpired in his life, I can see why the guy is like just ice when you watch him. He doesn't talk very much, doesn't show very much. I mean, we've had hot mics that have picked him up. He's not afraid of some colorful language.
They should mic him up all the time, Mark.
Yeah, so I think a lot of who he is just born of events that have happened to him, and there have been some ghastly things that have gone on.
Hey, Coach, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think if you took away the name, if you took away the little graphic that says the player's name and where they are in relation to par, do you think Ricky Fowler would be fun to watch?
Wow, that's a great. The last year or two, no.
And this is why I bring that up.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of this has to do with the framing, what happens outside of who you are. In a way, companies, sponsors, commercials, entities outside of who the player are can really frame a player to appear in a particular way. So to me, Ricky Fowler doesn't say a lot. He doesn't do dramatic fist bumps. There's a lot of similarities between he and Cantlay inside the ropes. But we see Ricky Fowler in commercials driving a Mercedes-Benz, or there's a BMX kind of a theme that's built around him with all of his contracts early in his career. And I just wonder whose responsibility is that? Because Ricky, he definitely reaps the benefit from that financially.
His agent.
But his agent, big time, right? You build that. So is it up to Patrick Cantlay to change his personality on the golf course to become more sellable, or is his job to go out there and win tournaments, cash checks? That, because to me, his job is to compete, and I think he's doing a fantastic job of it.
I think golfers now, especially ones that have been bred since they were really, really young to play golf, they're very robotic, because that's all they've done is play golf and didn't play baseball or football or basketball. And a lot of them don't have a ton of friends either, because they're in this fast track to the PGA Tour. I think it's a real problem. And I think as the tour grows, and we know what's coming next year when they're going to grow to like 4 channels, they're going to go to ESPN Plus, all this extra coverage. If you're a player and you want to reap the rewards that Ricky does, that Jordan did, not so much anymore, but that Tiger does and Roy does, you've got to be entertaining. Whatever that is to you, you've got to be a guy that, look at Tyrrell Hatton. Look what the European Tour did with Tyrrell Hatton this week with the angry golfer skit. Hilarious. Now he's got a personality. These guys got to have personalities, or they're just going to make money on the course, and that's it.
Tyrrell Hatton, we're going to talk about him in a second. European Tour is great with that stuff, but we've got to talk about one hunky Tony, another not so hunky Sunday for Tony Finau. And Greg, you're not going to get off the hook on this one, but I'm going to start with Kyle here. Don't think I forgot, because KP, Tony Finau shoots a 4 under 68 and finishes 4 shots back. And I want to quote my buddy Nelson from Twitter, who sarcastically tweeted, "Dang, Finau's going to let another one slip away because he didn't shoot 8 under in round 4, which is like, yeah, I guess that's kind of right. I mean, he literally would have had to shoot an 8 under 64 to get into a playoff. I know he made 2 bogeys, but is this Finau failing again?
Finau has more kids than me, by the way.
How many guys on tour have more kids than you?
I think it's Webb and Finau.
The 2.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I have a hard time with this. We always caveat this. I like Tony Finau. Like, we all always say that. I don't know that we need to keep saying it.
Why don't we why don't we caveat the guys that we hate? Like, I hate this guy.
I like that. I like that.
I like that too. This is hard because, so I looked this up. Data Golf has a great stat. You can look where a player was at the end of a 3rd round going into the final round. And this is the 19th time in his PGA Tour career that Finau's been in the top 5 going into the final round. So 19 times he was in the top 5, which is pretty much, I mean, it'd have to be a unique circumstance in which you weren't kind of in it if you're in the top 5, right? I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
And in 16 of those rounds, he's gained strokes against the field. He's been better than field average. And so you're like, I don't know, he's playing pretty decent, like compared to kind of what the field was at. But how many of those times, like, I know we talk about, okay, well, he's 1 for 19 in terms of wins from that spot. But how many times were you like, man, he was in it until the end? Like, that's the part where you're watching. I was watching today. He misses the 3-footer on 7. He misses another 3-footer after hitting this stupid shot into the water on 11. And you're like, man, you're not even. I get that you have to go out and shoot 64 to get in a playoff or whatever, but you're not even close. Like, where's the? We talked about this with Spieth a couple of years ago. Understanding the rhythm of a 72-hole event and peaking at the very end. With Finau, it's kind of like the Fowler thing where he just plays and the holes get in the way. And if he has the lowest score at the end, then he wins. And if not, then, on to the next one. That's the feeling I get from watching him. So I don't know that I don't think it's been as bad as people like would look at and say, man, he can't win. It's like, I don't know. He's playing pretty decent in these final rounds, but I don't think that tells kind of the full story if you look at the bigger picture.
Yeah,
and to that, I want to get in on this. Yeah. So I'll preface. I like Tony Finau, but the thing is, you have to shrink this down into the small moments with him. It's more than just, oh well, he shot 68 on Sunday, and so he's playing great on Sunday. And well, no, it comes down to the moments. Kyle, you mentioned 2 of them. Number 7, he misses a really short putt, and that puts you in contention. Like 64. For most of us sitting at home, for all of us sitting at home, to think about shooting a 64 is a really daunting task. But for these players on the PGA Tour, every hole looks like a birdie hole on this golf course on this day with this setup, with these conditions. Every hole looked like a birdie hole. So 64, taking it shot by shot, it's not too outrageous. He had that in the cards. If he makes the putt at 7, now all of a sudden he's 19 under heading into the second 9. If he doesn't hit it in the water, he plays a safe shot out to the right where Cantlay did, or where Siwoo Kim did, way right on 11. Now all of a sudden you make a birdie there. Now you're at 21 under heading into, with another par 5 to go and other scoring holes. And so it comes down to these moments. And in order to win on the PGA Tour, you have to shoot really low scores, but you have to take advantage of every single moment that you get. And it's not that you have to make 40 footers all day. You don't have to hit it to 2 feet every single shot. You can't make mistakes. And Tony Finau is making too many mistakes in critical moments. And that's why he's not in the mix coming down the last 3 holes or 4 holes seemingly every time.
I think part of his problem is he's kind of plagued by this. He's too consistent. Like, he's always between 68 and 70 in these final rounds. And that sounds good. It is good, in terms of your scoring average, but it's not good for winning golf tournaments. You actually want to be inconsistent in terms of like what your final rounds look like. You go out and shoot, if you can still average 69.5 or 70 or whatever, but if that comes from 365s and 375s, you just won 3 tournaments. And he's just, it sounds stupid to have this burden of consistency. Like, that sounds like a great thing. Everybody was talking, Rory talks about it. All these guys talk about, I want to be consistent. I want to be consistent. But his is like just, it never results in a win because it's just so flat in these final rounds and weekends that he can't ever get over the finish line.
Look at Dustin Johnson last year in 2020, his scoring differential, right? It's 20 shots. He shot an 80 and he shot a 60. So yeah. that leads to a lot of wins. Maybe he didn't do that all on Sundays. I understand that, but there's volatility there because he has that ability to go crazy low. And if it doesn't go your way, you might shoot a bad score. So I think it's a fair point, Kyle.
I want to boil it down a little bit more to you speak of moments and mistakes and consistency, and I'm listening to what you guys say, and there's a lot of sense that you both make. But the truth of it is, for Tony Finau to win, consistency in final round scoring comes from making every putt that you stand over from inside 6 to 8 feet. In the final round, if you want to win, I've said this before, you make that stuff of consequence. And if you bury the odd, seagoer like Cantlay did, that's when you shoot the really low number. And that's what's unfortunate about these birdie fests, is that you're going to have to hole 1 or 2 20-footers in the final round. And that's not easy to do. But if you're like Tiger Woods or Jack Nicklaus or guys who win habitually, they make putts of consequence. And Finau has a glaring chink in his armor because the guy can hit it with anybody in the world, any day of the week, including on Sundays. But he just doesn't make putts that count. You reference the putt on 7, then I can forgive the indiscretion on 11. You never know. There might have been a bad lie or something going on. It's unforgivable to miss left there. But then to stack the short miss on top of that, that is where stuff starts to get awry. And then on 14, when you got a wedge in hand, I can understand maybe you got a jet and the thing came off there real fast, or the wind switched, or there's all number of things that we can't measure. But you don't miss from 5 feet. You just take those away, and all of a sudden he's got himself a shot to perhaps birdie 18 and or 17. And then of course he doesn't birdie 16. He's got a shot to win. So he's going to continue to be there. Just like you guys point out, if you strike it good, you're going to contend. But if you want to win, you have to make putts inside of 8 feet, especially on Sunday.
I'm glad you brought up the putter, Mark, because and I agree with a lot of that has been covered in the last couple of minutes about Tony Finau. But Coach, what I see is a guy that made us another switch in the putter this week. He moved off. He kind of moved the place of where his where the shaft meets the head. He tried a couple of different putting strokes. I saw him use a conventional grip at times today, which is something he hasn't done consistently. And to me, when guys are making little tweaks like that constantly, it just seems like they're a bit uncomfortable. And I could be wrong. I don't know what's going on, but it seems to rear its ugly head on the putting greens on Sundays, and he's constantly tweaking, which makes me think he's not all that confident.
To back up what Mark just said, everything that Mark just said goes straight to the confidence that he does or clearly does not have on Sunday. Today, 68 was kind of par. Let's just be honest, because nobody that was in contention was shooting lower than that or higher than that. And right now, when he gets to Sunday, for whatever reason, and maybe it's his caddy, maybe it's his family, maybe somebody needs to say to him, listen, Tony, you are good enough. Maybe sit him down and look him in the eye and say, you are good enough. Go out there and be who you are on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The fact that we're noticing this, and the fact that you can say, all right, he's putting this way on Thursday and changes it on Saturday, and then Sunday it's 2 different ways. You can't do that, because we all know that when you get a feel, you need to feel comfortable. Siwoo Kim today felt comfortable. The announcer, I don't remember who it was, might have been Mark's brother, said on 17, he's going to make this putt. He's like, he's going to make. Why did he feel that way? Because he was comfortable over the putter all day long. Tony has to get there. And if these years keep going by and he doesn't, then I don't think we can keep talking about him as one of the top players in the world.
Siwoo should send Max Homa a bottle of wine for the read that he got off of that putt on 17. It was a beaut. Real quick on the European Tour, because Terrell Hatton, KP, he's done it again. Only Dustin Johnson and Terrell Hatton have won 4 times worldwide in the last 15 months. Think about that. Let that soak in. He is winning worldwide at an incredible rate right now. He is already a top 10 player in the world. He's going to improve his ranking when the new rankings come out on Monday morning. And he clips Rory to earn this one.
Yeah, I actually got up early and watched the last probably 9 holes of this. And I think the funny part about Hatton is you watch him, you listen to him, and he doesn't really look the part. Like, his swing is not that great, and he's just kind of ambling around. And you don't talking about Finau. Finau looks the part. I mean, you watch him on the range, and it's like, oh my gosh. Now Hatton is really good from tee to green. I just mean visually, like you don't watch him and think, oh, he's probably a top 5 guy, top 5 athlete in his sport in the world. And yet he just goes out and gets it done. I thought it was impressive. I thought Rory was pretty disappointing. He birdies 2 of the first 3. You're like, okay, he's going to shoot 65, go out and win. And then he plays the last 15 and whatever, 2 over. And it just, I don't know. Some of his approach shots were just lousy. They were just not very good. But yeah, look, Hatton might be the most underrated guy in the world, given how much he wins. I mean, we talked about this some last year. He wins Turkey. He wins something else on Duet.
He won API.
But something else on the European Tour also. BMW PGA, Wentworth.
That was a big one.
And he's not winning. I mean, no offense to the American Express, he's not winning American Expresses. He was winning huge events all over the world, and going to be on the Ryder Cup team. For him, it's about majors now. He's proved plenty over the last 16 months on the European Tour and even on the PGA Tour. Now you got to go do it at a major championship.
Greg, I'm going to ask you to put a bow on Rory McIlroy here before we hop over to a break. It was a bit of Jekyll and Hyde for him. He had 2 rounds of even par 72. Now he shot a 64 in the opening round. He shot a 67 in round 3. In round 1, I had the warm and fuzzies. He was firing at every pin. He was making every putt, but it was a little bit inconsistent over the course of the week. But all in all, a 3rd place finish in Dubai to start off your 2021 season, a year you're trying to complete the career Grand Slam. Pretty good. I'll take it.
It's a good sign. I think there's still some lingering effects. Some of the same issues, I think, still stay there. So what I'm watching this week when he's playing at the Farmers, my expectation is that he's in contention. And what I'm watching for out of him on a Sunday round is what happens with the putter on these putts that we keep talking about with Tony Finau. Because Rory is such a momentum player. If when he misses a short putt early in a round, his game starts to break down a little bit. You start to see errant iron shots. You start to see the confidence suffer. And so what I'm looking for out of Rory McIlroy is that putting from that 4 to 8 foot range. If that can improve, he's really hard to beat. But looking at what happened this week, I think it hasn't improved quite yet. So that's my big watching point heading into Farmers and the rest of the season over here on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, that's a good call, Greg. And I want to build on that. First off, Tyrrell Hatton plays with a gigantic chip on his shoulder. And I don't think he's going away anytime soon because he's got this, like, I'm a blue collar guy and you country club boys, I'm out to show you with my golf swing and stuff. But with Rory, stuff comes easy. Now, next week at Torrey, Rory's career or record on the West Coast has not been so great, except for the win in the American Express and the match play at Harding Park. And everyone's going to miss a few short putts because of those Pioneer greens late in the day. It just happens. So I'm keen to see how he putts. And then when he has that miss that you referenced, Greg, early, because it's likely, how he responds to that, how he bounces back from that. Does it suddenly become Rory where I'm not hitting on the walk, but I'm just kind of letting go and being over aggressive? Because the one thing about Torrey Pines, no matter whether it's June in the US Open or January and the Farmers Insurance Open, it's like a war of attrition. It's like a major championship, and survival is the key around there. And so you're going to make mistakes. And the question is, how do you respond? And that's what I'll be looking for out of McIlroy.
I think the more indefensible thing is the putting, yes, but just the wedge game. I was watching as he finished up, and I think he was on 16 or 17. It's a 330-yard drive, and then he just flies it over the green. And meanwhile, Hatton's in the rough, not in a great spot, and he hits it to 18 feet and makes birdie. And you're like, that is so demoralizing if you're Rory to just be pumping it past these guys and then have to get up and down for par from 97 yards out. That to me is just that's the part where if you clean that up, then you start having 2014 years again.
But if you look at that, if you look at the numbers from when everyone began to critique the wedge game, they have ticked up. There's definitely been an improvement from sort of the 75 to 125 range-ish. So things are going better. So I'm just prepared to forgive that one as like an early season aberration. Now, if that's continuing when April rolls around, yeah, then I'll start to go, okay, I'm not so sure about this sort of stuff. But you're right, the wedge game is sometimes a weakness. But to me, when I've watched it, seemed like it has been getting better.
All right, well, he's making the trek to Torrey Pines next week, so we'll see how he does there. We've got to get a one-and-done update. We've got to talk about our super contest, but first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back looking at super contest results, Coach. I take the week with a small win. We had a lot of almosts. I know that almost only count in horseshoes and hand grenades, but I look at our best bets, and we are currently 8-4 this season, which if you're going to narrow it down, if you're going to pick what your best bet is each week and you're winning those, that seems like it's a pretty good thing.
Yeah, and I'm an idiot because if I'm going to pick Patrick Cantlay to win on this show and on my other show, why in the world would I not pick Patrick Cantlay for my one and done? I got in my own head. You guys got in my head, so I picked Sepp Straka, and he didn't make the cut. I think he shot 77 on Friday or something, but he was supposed to be one of in my metrics, he was like a top 6 guy. I've got to get out of my own head because I've got a lot of ground to make up, and I'm a grinder, and I've told myself I want to be caught up to the leader, which is Mark, by the Masters, and I can't have these zeros if I'm going to do that. So very disappointed in myself.
I also had a Patrick Cantlay wager, but I back up my outrights with top 5s in most occasions for situations just like this. And speaking of that one and done, Mark, I think you dodged a bullet here in the one and done, my friend, because you took a 0 for Scotty Scheffler, and I was sitting pretty as the 36-hole leader with Sungjae, trying to add $1.3 million to my total, and to no avail. I only got 137. You are still $700,000 clear of Greg.
Yeah, and you don't think I was very much watching scoring on Friday afternoon when I saw Sungjae send to the lead. No, I hate miscuts. It absolutely grinds my gears, and maybe that's because I've been a coach and spending time with a player who's missed a cut on a Friday evening or a Saturday or a Sunday right thereafter is just it's some of the worst times one can imagine. And so I was sort of between Answer and Scheffler, and I was between, and kind of like Kyle said, he overthought the thing a little bit too, and so I went with Scheffler, and Abraham played well, so I was extra aggravated when play wound down this evening.
Yeah, Answer did charge over the last 18 holes or so. Greg, you took Matthew Wolff, the Wolf Man. He got you $25,000. Unfortunately, you were probably hoping for a bit more cashola than 25 grand.
Yeah, it's really disappointing. I mean, you think about last week, I wasn't able to talk about it, but I took Answer. I was sure that he was going to win last week. He missed the cut. So you have, in the last 2 weeks, I've taken home $25,000, and to me, I've given up 2 really good players. I think there's a lot of weeks like the 3M Open where Matthew Wolff is extremely valuable, and Abraham Answer. There's a number of places like this week where he would have been a really nice play. So kind of a little bit disappointed with my play right now. I'm in a little bit of a slump, and just like I think everybody else feels like, got to get this thing back on track if I have any chance of catching Mark.
Yeah, we've got to start reeling Mark in. So the standings here, Mark at 4.1, Greg at 3.4, me at 2.5, Kyle 2.1, producer Jacob 2.1, and Coach 1.4. We started him with $1 million at the Tournament of Champions, and he's building his way up, and he's telling us that he's going to catch, I think he said he's going to catch Mark by the Masters.
No. I didn't say going to. I said that's my goal. It's going to be a very hard goal. I understand. I'm going to have like 3 winners to do that. So
I'm going to wait for every pick that you make and make the same selection and see if it doesn't happen.
Like on Price is Right, $1.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. KP, looking forward to next week, Torrey Pines, one of my favorites. We get another 2-course rotation. We've got a stacked field. John Rahm's going to make an appearance. Rory McIlroy will be there. Xander Schauffele, who went to Torrey Pines High School or La Jolla High School, who has missed who has missed 4 out of 5 cuts there. It's like never played well. He'll be there. So an absolutely stacked field, and little bonus, early reconnaissance for the U.S. Open.
Yeah, it is. You know, I think the U.S. Open thing's kind of like we talked about with Pebble in 2019. It's Torrey's probably more similar to the U.S. Open on a normal basis than Pebble is, just because you have the amateur portion of Pebble, but it's still just very different. I'm just excited. I think Torrey always feels like opening day to me. You know, the psychos among us, like all of us, watch Hawaii, watch, you know, American Express, but Torrey's really like it's on CBS. Mark is out there just chopping it up with everybody. Spieth is back. I'm excited about that. Probably only like for the next 4 days, not starting on Thursday. By the way, I learned today that Grayson Murray has won more recently than Jordan Spieth on the PGA Tour.
What did Grayson Murray win?
He actually won the same day as Spieth's last win, which was the 2017 Open, but it happened later in the day, so I'm counting.
Oh, like Barracuda or whatever the opposite field is?
It was Barbasol. Yeah, Barbasol.
No, I'm excited. You know, no Tiger, which stinks, but pretty much everybody else. And, you know, Rory finished top 5 there last year. He's coming off a top 5 in Abu Dhabi this year, so it'll be fun. DJ's in, right? I haven't looked at the field list. No DJ?
Not the
What's
list
he
that
doing?
I don't think he is.
Player, no, he played a couple of years back. I'm not sure he played last year.
What does he have? What does
Probably
he have?
busy running. She's
It's a busy stretch coming up.
Yeah, they've been on
Yeah,
vacation.
that's true. That's a good
I'm
point.
telling you,
Greg.
after Farmers, it gets hard to. Every event looks like one you have to play. So
Yeah.
I you give guys a little bit of leeway here, but yeah, it's interesting not to see DJ. You'd think it'd be a perfect venue for him.
Hopefully,
he plays Pebble that most folks don't. He'll go and play Pebble in Riviera 2 weeks in a row.
that's true.
Right.
Hopefully, Rom will be healthy too.
Yeah, we never got. Why did he withdraw? I know there was an official reason, but didn't he get asked about it? Did he? What do we know what happened?
He said that he hurt himself working out or something like that, and that he could have played if he had to, but he didn't want to aggravate it and push it, so he pulled out. But he said he could have played if it would have been a major, he could have played.
Got it. Mark, you'll be on site, so I'm sure you are well into your research. I imagine you are much looking forward to getting back out there.
I am, Torrey. I mean, you guys have said it. It's just a wonderful venue and just a beautiful spot in the world, really. You know, some of those vistas over there, and both golf courses are great. I mean, everyone always used to speak of the North Course being the one you get after. Well, I got to tell you, after the Weiskopf adjustments, that place is downright mean as well. And if you can shoot if you shoot around in the 60s there, you're doing pretty well. But then the South Course, I've always believed low score wins, but I sort of like these things where par is valuable. And on the South Course, a par on any hole is valuable. I don't care whether it's a reachable 5 like 18 or, tough par 4 like 2 or 4 or one of those holes down there. And I like that sort of style of play. And I love getting out there, seeing the Pacific, dressing kind of warmly for some early mornings and stuff. And it's just a gem. And to Carl's point, it sort of kicks off, or Greg's point, it kicks off a run of golf where you go from Torrey Pines to Phoenix to Pebble Beach to Riviera, and then the Florida swing, and then the Players Championship, and so stuff happens fast now. So I'm excited.
Absolutely love it. I think that'll do it, boys. I think we covered it for the American Express. Let me thank producer Jacob. He's behind the glass. Mark Immelman, who will be on site next week. You can follow him on Twitter at Mark_Immelman. The coach, you can follow at The Coach Rules. Greg Ducharme, good to have you back at The Real GFD. Kyle Porter at Kyle Porter CBS. You can follow me at Rick Rungood. This has been The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.